Everyone, and welcome. My name is Avery. I'm one of the admissions counselors at Calvin University, and I'm glad that you all can join us for our parent seminar where we're going to be talking about student life. Actually, one thing that really stood out to me in that video is whenever they said we're in this together, and I think that really rings true when talking about student life. And with all the questions that I've been asked so far this year about what student life looks like at Calvin, I think being in this together is what I really go to, in that we are coming together to face the circumstances that we've been confronted with, but also it is about being together as a student body, as a campus, and to be able to maintain that form of relationship. So today we're going to talk a little bit about what student life at Calvin looks like. And so we're going to have a presentation from Jay Wise, who is the director of college housing and operations, and also Melissa, who's the director of admissions. And we're just going to give you a good picture of what student life at Calvin is currently like. And then we're also going to have some parents from our parent council do some Q&As. So throughout this time, if you have any particular questions, there's a Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. You can open that up and type in some questions, and we'll be able to answer them throughout the presentation and also throughout the question and answer section. So yeah, without further ado, I will let Jay Wise take it over and we'll get into it. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you, Avery. Hi, everyone. There we go. What we'll cover today, we're going to cover why live on campus, the places you'll live, the people you'll meet, my personal favorite, the shape of Christian community, a day in the life, will you like the food, what to bring and what not to bring, and then your questions. First of all, why live on campus? Because it's a requirement. Beyond being a requirement, we believe that learning doesn't stop at 3 o'clock on a Friday when a student comes out of the science building, but it continues.
Can
Yes.
we cannot see your screen. Could you try sharing your screen again?
Sorry. There we go. Is that better?
Looks like we can see you, but we can't yet see the presentation.
Sorry. I'm sharing my screen here. Sorry. Can you see it now?
Not yet.
Sorry about that.
I could share it for you if that works, Jay.
Yeah, let's do that. I'm sorry. I don't know why it's not working, but that's fine. So the couple of things we're gonna go over tonight is why live on campus, the places you'll meet, the people you'll meet, my personal favorite, the shape of Christian community, a day in the life, will you like the food, what to bring and what not to bring, and then we'll have some time for your questions towards the end as well. Why live on campus? Well, first off, because it's a requirement. And like I said earlier, beyond that, we believe strongly that learning doesn't stop at 3 o'clock when a student comes out of the science building on a Friday, but it continues with the people you live with, the interactions you have, the community you're around. That's why we're intentional here at Calvin about being a residential university and making sure that students get that whole experience, the whole college experience. A couple of our learning outcomes as well, in terms of why live on campus. We have learning outcomes. So over the course of the two years students are on campus, our goal is they're going to build healthy relationships. They're going to grow in their faith, social responsibility, self-management, and great decision-making as well. Why live on campus? If I had to boil it down, I would say, when again are you going to have a once-in-a-lifetime experience where you're going to live in close proximity with other people, you're all going to eat at 5 o'clock p.m., and you're all going to share a bond. And maybe the retirement home is the only other place that comes to mind for me. But what a great experience, what a great opportunity. And I think it really enhances the students' experience when they live on campus. The places you'll live. So for the first couple of years, students will live in the residence halls. We have 6 residence halls that are very similar. They're set up basically suite style. You can see right here some pictures of the lobby, the inner lobby. There's three floors. There's 3 floors of women, 3 floors of men. There's some common lobbies as well. You can see here, suite style, we usually have first-year students on one side of the bathroom. We usually have returning students on the other side of the bathroom. That's kind of a nice setup because for first-year students, they get a chance to pick the brain of the upper class students and say, hey, what professors should I take? Or what about this break? Or what should I do? What are some of the traditions that we have? And so it's worked out really well to have this suite style setup. We have Ethernet, we have wireless throughout our residence halls. We're actually doing a really project this week and over the next few weeks to improve the internet as well. We have a stackable furniture. We have a company in town called RT London, and they manufacture our furniture, our beds and our dressers and our desks. And it's kind of like a big Lego set. It comes with pins that you can attach. And what I tell the students is before they set up the room, walk down the hall, take a look, see what other students are doing. You'll get good ideas that way. And I bet by the time Thanksgiving comes around, they'll have changed the room 2 or 3 times. Each floor has a coffee kitchen or a kitchenette where students can make brownies or ramen noodles or have leftovers. There's also a common fridge they can use and a microwave. This is a meeting space as well. A lot of the floors end up using this kitchenette area to do floor meetings. We have a basement in our residence halls. We have 2 sides to the basement. This is kind of the study basement, kind of like think of the family room, right? So building meetings, floor meetings, just great study spaces. Some students like to study in the room, and that's great, but other students want to get out and have some different soft seating and some different study options. And so for some, the basement is a great spot, and I'll show you a couple other spaces as well. This is a solarium or a connector. So many of our residence halls have a little opening or a little connector that connects both sides of the basement. It's also another great study space. Here's the recreation basement. We have pool, ping pong. We have our pop and our vending machines, flat screen TV, just a great hangout space. And so, like I said, some students, maybe you have a roommate who wants to go to bed a little earlier, and maybe you want to go downstairs and do some studying or some hanging out. Just great to have these different spaces in our residence halls. This is a quiet study room or quiet study space. Its nickname is the morgue because for some students, they like it really quiet. We actually have those study carols set up so they can block any distraction that students have. Once again, another study space option for students beyond the library and beyond the coffee kitchens. We have trunk rooms and bike rooms. So students will bring all kinds of different clothes. And in Michigan, we have different kinds of weather. So if they have sweaters or heavy jackets or coats that they aren't going to use maybe in August or September, but maybe when November and December roll around, they can go downstairs and use that. These are free of charge. They're great spaces. Also, they're open in the summertime, so students don't have to take all of their belongings back home. They can store it in the residence hall. We do have a bike storage as well for students that have a bicycle and want to keep it here. Laundry, the great thing about laundry is it is free. What I mean is it's tied into room and board. We already build that cost in. But the nice part about it is students don't have to fumble around with quarters or the correct change. Just be responsible. We tell students when you do your laundry, go down in a timely manner and pick it back up, not 3 days later. But most students love the free laundry and do a great job. A unique living learning option. Like I said before, our residence halls are very similar. We do offer a couple living learning communities that are in Van Rieken, our newest residence hall wing. These options are recreation or a creation care floor, where students want to learn more about God's creation and what's our response as a Christian. We have a grassroots community where students have an opportunity to learn about anti-racism and ethnic diversity in North America. And we also have an honors community for students that are part of the honors program who want to live together and want to be around others that are also part of the honors program. The places that you might live later. So after the second year, students can move off campus, but a lot of students choose to live on campus in our apartments that are called the Knollcrest East apartments. They've been refurbished and remodeled over the last several years. They're really a nice space and nice setup. They're 2-bedroom, 1 bath. 3 or 4 students, a full apartment. You get a chance to take a look here and see some of the renovations that have been made recently. Our students don't have to live there, but a lot of them choose to live there. Safety is a great feature. Free laundry again, all of that in one bill. It's a very competitive bill, but a lot of students like that because if they're studying abroad, they can you can pay as you go. So if you are going to be gone for a semester, or if you're going to graduate early in December, let's say, you only have to pay for when you're here. You don't have to worry about having a subleaser or trying to find somebody to take your spot. The other thing is that the apartments are open all summer as well. So if students are doing an internship or working on campus or taking a class over the summer, they have the option to live on campus, or to continue to live on campus, I should say that. The people you'll meet, my all-time favorite, resident directors. These are professional staff that have a master's degree in student leadership or educational leadership. They live in the residence hall. They have a little apartment off the lobby. They actually have a little office as well. They are a great resource. They supervise our resident assistants, but they're also in charge of basically running the building and making sure it functions well. Resident assistants, these are typically juniors or seniors. Think of like a big brother or a big sister in terms of a student on the floor that's responsible for building community. Also some accountability and conversations, carefrontations we call it, if we have to have a conversation with a student. But their number one job is to build community and really get the students enjoying where they're living and excited for being on the floor. There's also other student leaders in the building as well that your students will meet. There's activities and events that are planned for your building and also your floor as a way to get camaraderie and really get students excited. We do a fall retreat every year, and we also do student Olympics called Chaos Night, which is just funny, goofy games, pits dorms against dorms. It's just a fun way for students to build community and have some fun. Your roommates and suite mates. One of the things that typically families want to know is, hey, if my student comes to Calvin and they have a roommate in mind, is that fine? Yes, it is. We will honor that. We will pair them up as roommates. But don't worry, if you don't know who your roommate wants to be, you're in the category with about 75 other people. And our track record isn't perfect, but it's really good. And so we'll ask you to fill out a housing application. Be as truthful as you can. We'll take that, we'll compile it, we'll let our computer look at it for some matches, and then we'll also look at it through human eyes here in our housing office to make that match. Think of it as an eHarmony kind of computer system. If for some reason the match doesn't work out well, we do have RAs and RDs that can help facilitate a move if that's needed. But I'll be honest, not only do a lot of our students go through the first year together, but a lot of them, over 3/4 of them, pair up actually for their second year as well. Christian community. Our communities, this isn't just a hotel, I should say. This isn't just a place. We don't consider housing just a place for students to be fed and to sleep. We think it's more than that. We think there's a spiritual thread, a spiritual component that runs through our work. And so a few things that are hallmarks of that. We're situated in a Christian academic environment. So students are going to be taught by professors that are Christians, that are going to do devotions, that are going to walk alongside of them and say, hey, what does it look like to learn in our discipline? But also, what does it look like to look at our discipline as a Christian, as an academic, and look at it that way? We're shaped by biblical principles in housing and residence life. A couple things come to mind. The Philippians 2, verses 3 and 4. It's not about you. So when you're living in community with other people, you'll learn a lot about yourself. Sometimes you have to compromise with a roommate or a suite mate or a friend on a floor. Also, 2 Peter 3, verse 18, we're all growing in grace. We're all growing in Christ. And so some students have great habits established when they come to college, and some are in training, and some are still learning, and that's okay. And then the Matthew 18, verse 15, be a problem resolver. That's one of the things that we'll work hard here at Calvin if something comes up, if a situation comes up, be honest, be open, talk to that student, whether it be a roommate or suite mate or a friend in a class. And that's part of the things that we're going to teach you and help you along the way. We do have some policies here at Calvin. Every school has policies, regardless of where you go. Noise policies. We're a dry campus, so we have an alcohol policy. We have other policies as well, but that's going to be, those policies help us. They're kind of banks of a river, if you want to think of it that way, is they help us to shape who we are and who we become. And so that's really important to have here at Calvin. And then I think the X factor is really the student, right? Your participation, you being excited about what we offer and what we're involved in, and you being involved in bringing your gifts and talents here to Calvin, whatever that is, whether that's athletically, whether that's in the arts, whether that's, with a work study program or an internship, we want you to bring your best self here to Calvin. A day in the life. So if you were saying, hey, Jay, what does it look like? What are some things for a student in a typical day? I would say waking up, which implies that they did go to bed at a decent hour. I would say some sort of nourishment. So eating in our dining hall, getting maybe going out for exercise, for a walk, or going to our exercise center, having an academic schedule. And unlike high school, here at college, sometimes a student will have a whole day of classes and then a day with no classes where they've got some unstructured time, and then maybe another day with classes. So utilizing when you do have class, and also being a good steward of your time is important. And it's a lesson that we all learn, even me at my age, I'm still learning. Wellness activities, community engagement. Like I said before, a lot of students are part of a club, organization, intramural team. All of that plays a part in their day. And then I think the key is just balancing all of these, right? Having a little bit of each of those, and really being able to balance each of your responsibilities throughout the day. That's really what it's all about. Will you like the food? The answer is yes. We can just move right on along here. No, just kidding. The cool thing about Calvin is our dining staff does a great job. They offer a lot of options for students. They offer a few different dining halls, different times, as well, different schedules, which is helpful if you're coming back from a practice or coming back from a night class. We do have Pete's Coffee Shop that opened up a couple of years ago. That's a fantastic place. And we have some retail bonus bucks or night bucks that students can use at those retail locations. The dining staff still does a great job with students with dietary restrictions or allergies. We have an Office of Student Success that I work closely with, that we make sure that we figure out when students arrive and come in the fall. And if there's some allergies that we can address and help with, we pull our dining hall staff in with us to work with the students to make sure that they have great options that are available to them. What to bring to Calvin: pillow, blanket, extra long twin sheets, towel, soap, other toiletries. My mom gave me a laundry basket with a ribbon on it when she dropped me off here at Calvin. I got the message. It's my turn to start doing my own laundry. Detergent, clothes for all sorts of weather. We talked about that earlier. Room decorations. We want the students to make these rooms their own, in their home, away from home. And so we want them to put posters on the wall and bring pictures of their family and their friends, and bring a throw rug, and just make the room their own, make it personal. And I think the cool thing that happens a lot here is by the time we get to Christmas break for first year students, the neat thing is when they come back and I talk to them, most of them are as excited to come back to their room because they've kind of developed a community and a sense of camaraderie with their floor, that they're as excited to come back after break. And that's exciting for me to hear. Computers, obviously a lot of students have laptops currently with headphones to be respectful of their suite mates or their roommates. A calendar or planner. A lot of times now that's electronic, right? Can be on your phone. A hot pot or coffee, we do allow that. You saw the picture earlier of the coffee kitchen, which you can use anytime, but a lot of students might want to heat up a cup of coffee in the morning. A lamp. Some of the lighting in our dorm rooms is a little bit institutional still. And so having a soft lamp is nice. Being able to bring some different size lights is important. Power strips obviously are important as well. Things you may bring but don't need. I know a lot of students will try to bring everything they own in one trip, and I'll say, you know what, that's great, but you didn't need all of this. Those rooms are fairly small, and when you do share them with somebody, you want to communicate well what you're going to bring and what they're going to bring. Bring your favorite cleaning supplies. We do have cleaning supplies here at Calvin, but some students have their own that they prefer, and that's fine. You can bring a small refrigerator, up to 4 feet, actually. And so a lot of students will keep that in the room for snacks or for beverages. The main coffee kitchen is available and is an option, but you can have a personal one in your room. Bicycles. Calvin has great bike paths here on campus. It's a great way, skateboards, bicycles, great way to get around. Freshmen and first-year students can have cars. That's correct. So if you do want to bring one, you can, but you don't need one, especially that first year. I encourage a lot of first-year students to, we have a great public transportation system called the Rapid. That's great. For 50 cents and a Calvin card, you can go anywhere one way. And so I encourage students to take advantage of that. We will do a program in residence life in the fall where we'll encourage our RAs to use the bus so that students get an opportunity to use it themselves, to it. And then what not to bring, weapons, of course. Pets are off limits except for fish. And fish everybody knows what fish are, right? Turtles aren't fish. Fish die if they are taken out of the water, and they live if they stay in the water. So sometimes every year we have to redefine what fish are at move-in day, but we will do that. Obviously, alcohol and drugs and anything you really don't need. We said before, there's lots of great spaces in the residence hall, but the rooms are fairly small. So don't bring any extra things you don't need. And I think at the bottom line here is we're here to support you. We have great resources. We have great staff with resident assistants, resident directors, our residence life team. We really are here for students, and their success is our success. And so we work hard to break down any barriers that students have, and also to try to get them all the resources they need to be successful. Melissa, I'll turn it over to you.
Excellent. Thanks, Jay. I'm really glad for all the information you shared, and you packed a lot of information into a couple of minutes. So I did want to remind you all that we will send the recording out hopefully later this week so that you all have access to that and all the slides that he shared, because it was really full of great information to help the students with move-in. And Jay, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure we send out some move-in guides as well to help them out with some of these details of like when things are going to happen, what to bring, floor plans, things like that go out as part of our orientation program, right?
Yes, it does. Yeah, it'll go out later this spring.
Perfect. Good. So be watching for that to be arriving via email, via mail, a lot more stuff that'll come in and assist you as you're getting your students ready for move-in this year. And I did note on the RSVP form that most of you are parents of seniors. So not only are you navigating the end of a really interesting senior year with your students, but also navigating now this transition to college and all the prep that goes with that. So I'm sure your heads are crazy full of all the things that have to get done right now. And I just wanted to reassure you all that we are here to support you in this. We go through this cycle every year, so we're used to the things that need to happen, and we certainly can be a guide for you. Whether it's your first time through this or whether it's your fourth or fifth time. Some of you might be on your youngest student by this point. So just make sure that you're reaching out, you're asking us for support because we're definitely here for you. We are around campus. As you can see, Jay's on campus tonight. So while some of us are still balancing home and office life, we're around. So call us, email us. We've got lots of visit opportunities still too. We have opportunities with a couple of events that we have coming up where you can come and still get exposure to students and ask staff questions. We have in-person visits open Monday through Friday right now on campus. If you still haven't yet been to campus, a couple of you still haven't been on campus with all that this year has thrown at you. So know that that is still an option. We do have limited spots. About 12 students per day are able to do an on-campus visit right now. We do have also room in our admitted student day event, which is coming up this Friday, March 26th. We thought it was full as of yesterday, but we had a couple of students move dates. So if you are able to, we have a couple of spots open for admitted student day. That's Friday, the 26th this week. from 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. If you'd like one of those spots, the registration's closed, but you can email us at admissions@calvin.edu, and we'll be sure to either get you into one of those open spots or put you on the wait list for if a spot opens this week. We also have options to connect virtually. All of your admissions counselors who are assigned to you and your students and are helping you through, all of them have ways that you can connect with them one-on-one virtually as well. So check your email for that. That's a really great way to just have a one-on-one conversation and work through those detailed questions that you might have. No question is a bad question, which I'm seeing from the Q&A. You're putting tons in there. That's a good thing. But all questions are welcome. Like I said, we've been through this. We go through this every year, and we're definitely here to support you on it. What's next up for most of you? Some of you have already checked this one off of your box, but what's up next is deposit. So deposit's that moment where you say, yes, Calvin is my choice. This is where we're going to be headed to this year. This is the choice for my student for college. There is a deposit due that needs to be paid for our US students by May 1st and for international students by June 1st. That is the way to lock in that Calvin's your choice. It gives you the choice of ideal dates for orientation. We're only going to be hosting 3 on-campus orientations this year. And when those are full, that is our max, just with our COVID restrictions right now. We do have virtual orientations as well, but I'd encourage you to get the ideal date for yourself, as well as just have that peace of mind. You don't have to wait till May 1st and June 1st to lock that in. You could right now have that finished, have your spring focus on graduation, and just have that assurance and peace of mind that everything is moving forward, that things are set. And speaking of summer, a couple of things to keep in mind about what summer is going to look like this year. We've got orientation, like I said, both in person and online. Our first date for orientation is actually April 14th. So just, well, 3 weeks away. That's really soon. That's a full day experience. You'll connect with all different kinds of resources and staff and faculty, and just really get prepared for this transition to college, which certainly can be daunting, especially the first time through. Another option to think about, and you'll see this in some of the emails and mailings that have gone out, is an invitation to join Wilderness Orientation, which is a really phenomenal program for first-year students to join into. You get to go out into the world, into the wild. They go to all kinds of crazy places and camp and hike and, I don't know, jump off cliffs and do all kinds of crazy things. So if your student's the kind of crazy person that loves all that outdoor stuff, and some of them have skill levels for hiking skills, you want to try that out, and definitely it's a great way to connect. Move-in will happen in end of August. Most of your students will move in August 25th, but some students will be invited to early programs like international orientation or impact orientation, and those move-ins are a little bit earlier on the 22nd and 23rd. And so you'll get more details real soon on all of those dates. And then my final reminder to you is have your student check their admissions portal. You can find that on the admitted student webpage. Go there. Each one of you has a personalized and detailed checklist of all the documents that need to be turned in, your next steps, your contact information. It's really a great one-stop resource for you. If you need help getting the login information, that ask your admissions counselor. Your student, I guarantee, has that in their email. So have them dig in there a little bit. Maybe it's in their spam. But that's a great way to go and just have everything in one spot, so you know all the resources that you need for starting here at Calvin. At this point, I'm going to hand it back over to Avery, who is going to cue us up to our parent panel, who are here to answer some questions, and Jay and I will stick around as well to help answer questions too. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Melissa and Jay, for giving us some information about student life. So yes, now we're going to move into a question and answer section. We've got plenty of great questions that will be answered both by our parent panel guests and also Jay and Melissa as needed. But I'll go ahead and kick it off to our parents, and I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourselves. Let's go with the order on the screen. So Melissa, Tracy, and then Jill, and then we'll go ahead and get started and going through some questions.
Hi, my name is Melissa Bolt, and our oldest is at Calvin. She is a junior in the nursing program. We live in California, although spend a lot of time in Michigan and Ohio as well. And both my husband and I also went to Calvin years ago.
Hello, I'm Tracy Brooks. I am in Detroit, Michigan. I have a freshman, Taryn, who is currently attending Calvin, and a graduate, Wesley, who graduated from Calvin last year.
Hi, my name's Jill. I'm also from Grand Rapids, and I have 2 kids who went to Calvin. Our son Justin graduated, well, actually he didn't graduate last year, but he did graduate and he's working as a nurse. And then I have a daughter also who's a junior in Calvin's nursing program.
Wonderful. Sorry, I was missing the mute button for a second. So I do want to start this off with a question about challenges and fears. So what were your students' fears about going into college, about community, and what were the challenges maybe that they faced in approaching getting engaged?
So I will start, I guess. I will say that, of course, for both of my students, it was their first time being away from home ever for an extended amount of time. And so I think just a little bit of nervousness about being on their own, but then also tempered with excitement. They both adjusted very quickly. Both of them attended Entrada. Wesley attended Entrada in person on campus, and Taryn attended virtually. But both of them, as a result of the Entrada experience, were able to connect with other students who were going to be attending Calvin in the fall with them. They developed a strong bond, and as I say, they found their tribe. So through that program and then subsequently coming on campus, they found that Calvin has a very strong and welcoming, supportive community. That has been just an awesome home away from home for them.
Yeah, could you, real quick, could you tell us a little bit about Entrada and why you wanted to send both Wesley and Taryn to Entrada?
So we found out about Entrada through a family friend whose daughter also is a Calvin graduate, but Entrada is basically a program, a transition program for students of color. And it allows them to come be on the campus with other students from around the country and also international students to basically have that experience. They spend a month, they live in the dorms on campus, attend class. They do get a full college credit for the class that they take. Get an opportunity to engage with the staff, the professors, and basically have that full college experience, but with a lower group ratio. And so it definitely also, any fears I think that they had about diversity and inclusion were also addressed during that program and just gave them, again, a stronger sense of community and connection to Calvin.
Yeah. Entrada is a wonderful program to really just jumpstart the college experience and have those students who are going through the program with you, where you already know, you're texting like, oh, the first day, like, are we ready to, come with it together? So parents, if you are, if your student is a junior, they will be able to apply for the next summer, and then sophomore parents and freshman parents, it's the junior year, the summer of the student's junior year, and then the summer of the student's senior year. So right before they come into college. So if you are interested in that, that is something that is open for students. But yes, sorry, I just want to make sure I get the order right. Yeah, Melissa or Jill, are there any specific challenges or fears that your students were concerned about before going off to college, or in their their time getting assimilated to college?
So for our daughter coming from California, she was very curious to see what it was going to be like and nervous, knowing that we were a plane flight away, not just jumping in the car and driving home. So she was definitely nervous going in. Definitely very thankful for the summer orientation and the different programs that Calvin had. So she ended up going to an orientation where it was a science orientation and was able to meet other people who were either nursing or pre-med looking at the sciences. So that was nice because she didn't know anyone going. There was no one from her school going. So it was a nice lead in, and freshman year can be difficult, but Calvin does a good job of having the RAs there and helping to connect them with different people. And the professors have been phenomenal with any issues that she has had over the years, not just the first year. So very, very helpful.
I think being from Grand Rapids, my kids maybe had kind of the opposite situation. I think my kids both went in thinking, you know, half of my high school is also going to Calvin. And that was part of the reason that they both didn't really want to go to Calvin initially. But they both really fell in love with the nursing program, and that sort of outweighed, you know, their other concerns. But my son, who graduated last year, was on the baseball team. And when he packed for college, he left all of his high school baseball stuff at home. And I said, don't you want any of that? He's like, no, I want to start over. Like, I don't want to be like immediately labeled as like, oh yeah, you know, you're from Grand Rapids. And so he made a really intentional, you know, not that he never hung out with any of his high school friends, but he made a really intentional break and wanted to meet new people and do different things. And so that was really not a concern. I think also one of their concerns was, wow, mom and dad are 3 miles away. Like, they're going to be driving through campus, like trying to look in my dorm window. And, you know, we just made it really clear to them, like, you guys are adults, you know, you're going to college. Our oldest son went 2 hours away. And so we're like, we're going to treat this just like we did when John went to college. We're not going to go to campus. You know, we have never had any reason to be on campus. If you need something, obviously we're right down the road, but we're really going to treat this like you're 2 hours away. And if you want to come home for dinner, or you want to come home and grab something that you forgot, like, that's totally up to you, but we're not going to like treat it like you're 3 miles away. And I think that was really a good way to do it.
Jill, were there any surprises? So being local, being familiar with Calvin, were there any surprises that they had? Because, well, I just talked with one of our professors at Calvin whose daughter is thinking about Calvin, but says that she already knows all about Calvin, and a lot of students find out that's not the case. Were there any surprises that they kind of were approached by or shown at Calvin?
I think one of the biggest surprises to them was that, of course, being from Grand Rapids, they sort of felt like they knew everything about Grand Rapids. And both of them, when they did their, I don't know the name for it, but like the first couple days of school, when you do service projects with groups before class actually starts, they both ended up in neighborhoods that they had never been in. And so I think they kind of realized, like, wow, Grand Rapids is bigger than I thought. And even though I grew up here, I'm doing things with different people and the activities are different. So it wasn't just like high school part 2, which they were happy about.
Yeah, so that's part of orientation. Within the first week of orientation, we all the orientation groups are partnered with the community organization, and we send them out, and they get involved with the community that way. Starting off the kind of the surface learning aspect of the Calvin experience, being able to act justly with the skills and passions that we've been given. So yeah, I do actually. This is what I'm really interested to hear. I feel like there's a different perspective from parents in terms of the experience. There's a video that we have on our website where there's a pillow that is very famous, and it says "Call your mom." I think it's in the campus bookstore. But I think being a parent, you get to see the perspective of change that you don't always get to see as a student, because you know, as a student, you're with yourself every day. But when students come home, you see changes. In what ways did you see your students grow or change in their time at Calvin?
I definitely saw a lot of just spiritual growth, but also growth in both of my students' thought processes. I think that was something that evolved over their time. I've seen that with Taryn as she transitioned from high school and then her freshman year. I saw her, you know, pre-Entrada, and now as she is getting ready and coming to the conclusion of her freshman year, the conversation is very different, very focused on the things that she needs to do to prepare for her nursing program, a lot more focused, a lot more studious. as far as being structured in her time, study habits, making sure that she's spending time with folks that support that, reaching out to her professors and having those conversations and initiating conversations, coming out of her shyness and asking questions. For Wesley, definitely, again, a more defined sense of purpose and just being very overall, just focused and knowing what he needed to do to get through his programming and get to that end place, working toward graduation. But even, his freshman year, he started out in engineering and he ended up switching to data science. And I was very concerned about that. But he made that decision based on conversations that he had with a couple of his professors. And, I questioned that, but, he was like, Mom, I've given it a lot of thought. I've prayed about it. And he just seemed a lot more at peace. So those are the things that I appreciate about Calvin and about the staff and the resources and just the impact that it had on my student during his time there.
Wonderful. Jill, Melissa, anything? I know, Melissa, you're in California, so I feel like those changes, it's got to be send them off and then they come back for a holiday and they've got to be, yeah.
Yeah, there were definitely some big changes, fun changes to see. Definitely echoing Tracy with the independence and advocating for herself with her professors and really stepping in ways that she didn't necessarily have to in high school. So that was really neat to see. And then also as a mom coming home and more thankful for things and more aware of the cost of things as she was doing things completely on her own out there. Yeah, I mean, each year we see new levels of independence and new things that she's stepping into in ways that she is choosing her own path and connecting with professors and classmates in different ways. And it's really neat to see, and it definitely more magnified when we don't see her for a couple months at a time.
I think one of the neatest changes that I've seen in my kids has been sort of their enhanced responsibility. My daughter has participated in the LifeWorks program, which is just a phenomenal program for, a lot of financial skills, and she's kind of a shopper. And so if she had $10 of babysitting money in her pocket, like it was spent before she got home because she kind of knew. And so she's kind of learned the value of saving, and she kind of has a rivalry with my son because she ended up with a credit card in my husband's name in high school for a trip abroad. And she wasn't supposed to, keep it, but it was in her name because she needed it for this trip. Well, that went in her credit report. So my husband basically built her credit report. And so when she got her credit report, it was way higher than everybody else's because it really wasn't her credit report. It was my husband's credit report. So she keeps teasing my son like, well, my credit score, like if I wanted to buy a house, I'm only a junior in college, but I could totally do it. And but just even that they're talking about that, like I had no idea, how you built a credit report when I was a junior in college. And so it's fun that they're even aware of that. And that program is just amazing with, interview skills and resume building and the financial pieces. They've got a lot more respect for what they're going to face when they're adults, which is awesome.
Yeah, I'm glad that all of you have talked about the level of independence that your students kind of gained in terms of everything. I know, being on your own for the first time, there are a lot of things that you have to handle that you didn't think you had to handle, or that you didn't think that existed until you had to be independent. And so I do want to talk about what resources that they were able to find. What were the resources that they found were useful for them? And maybe specifically, Jill, if you could talk about what LifeWork was all about and what advantages that had for your students.
So LifeWorks is a program that was started a few years ago. My son actually didn't do it. I think it was started midway through his time at Calvin, and so he didn't have time to fit that in, but it was initially offered, to enhance students' interest as a scholarship program. I believe that has changed now, but I'm trying to promote it anyway because I think it would not maybe be something that freshmen might be interested in, because it sounds like just one more thing to do. And if I'm not going to get academic credit for this, like I'm not signing up for a free program to do more work, but it's really a small amount of work. Like they have a monthly assignment they do relate. I think every month is a little bit different theme. It is a fantastic program. It's everything from resume writing and interviewing skills to, like I said, the financial piece, budgeting, some sort of social skills. A lot of it is fun stuff that they end up learning from also. So I just want to put a plug in for that program. When your freshmen are talking about things that they're going to get involved in, it is a great program for them to do, and they will be so far ahead. I never had exposure to anything like that when I was a young adult, and it's a fantastic program. I think the other resource that both of my kids took advantage of was the free tutoring. And not that they necessarily needed like semester long tutoring, but just the fact that it was available to both of them their freshman year. They both were taking hard science classes, and they got in there and were kind of like, wow, I might be way over my head. And just to have an upperclassman tutor say, you know what, everybody feels like that. Like, you're fine. Let's look at the old tests. Let's look at, what you're studying and what you maybe should be studying. And just to have someone who had been in the class kind of settle them down was hugely helpful.
So Aaliyah, our daughter, also took advantage of the tutoring. That was super helpful freshman year for her. Coming from California, she also realized that there's not as much sun in Michigan. And that was really hard. She actually ended up going to her RA and connecting to the counseling department and getting a sunlight from Calvin, which sounds a little crazy, but she was having a tough time, and it really made a big difference for her. So even for me as a parent, it was wonderful to hear that even those things that I hadn't really thought through, we hadn't really thought through, Calvin was prepared and ready to help and step in some of those things that aren't academic things. Those are life emotional things. And yeah, it was just neat as a parent to know that they were taking care of all of her, not just the student.
I totally agree with both of those, and definitely just, again, the resources, not just for health services, but then also for mental health. And I think sometimes as parents, we often don't understand the stresses that our students can go through when they're transitioning. This past year has been particularly difficult due to COVID. And so there were a lot of things that changed in how classes were conducted and how students were able to engage. And so both of my students during their time did take advantage of reaching out to counseling and getting those mental health and support services. And it just did it was a tremendous boost for them. To be able to have those resources and to have someone to talk to and someone to respond to the things that they were talking about in their specific needs. So definitely appreciate those services that Calvin provides.
Yeah, personally, I went to the Center for Counseling and Wellness as a student, and I really, really appreciated them. So whether it is making the transitions and making sure that there's emotional support, or maybe there's anxieties around the test season, whatever it is, I do. Our infrastructure for helping students in terms of their mental health is actually increased in the past year in a way that I really, really am excited about. So we have the one-on-one counseling. We also have group counseling that covers different topics. So there's some stress management ones but there also is a group that has been started I think this previous year called Unmask, which I think is great because it is actually a student-led service where students can connect with other students and kind of talk and process their problems. So we have students who have volunteered to be part of that and that are connecting with students as they just need someone to talk to and to process in a way that's therapeutic. So I do want to transfer over. We have a lot of questions about what COVID has brought in terms of changes to Calvin's student life. So I did want to tie in Jay-Wise just for a bit, just to give us a better impression of kind of what's going on with that. Maybe, yeah, are there any changes to housing in light of COVID-19?
Yeah, Avery, that's a good question. We want to keep students safe, right? And one of the great things here at Calvin is we've been able to stay open. And I know a lot of students or a lot of universities had to do virtual for the fall. Some are still virtual for the spring, but we put a lot of measures in place. With classrooms, we've extended spaces that are large, that students can be 6 feet apart. Maybe the gymnasium, maybe the chapel undercroft aren't typical classroom spaces. Maybe the residence hall basements aren't either. But we got creative when we said, hey, we want to have in-person classes, and we want to also make sure we keep students and staff and faculty safe. And so that's what we've been trying to do. We've limited a little bit of our open house or the opportunity that students had to visit other students. That's starting to lift now, but for the fall term and for part of the winter, we were a little bit more restrictive in terms of saying, hey, your floor and your suite are important, and we want you to be safe and that to be like your pod or your family. And so we've started to loosen up the restrictions for visiting other floors, visiting other dorms. But we were pretty strict at the beginning because we were trying to be careful not to have a situation arise or spread. And then some of you may have heard we do have a residence hall reserved for quarantine that we've used. We've been blessed in some respects that we have a whole residence hall that's not being used this year. And so for students that do test, either they test positive or that they're a close contact of another student, we work with them individually. And it takes some time and energy, I'll be honest, but I think it's the right thing to do. And so we usually call the students, say, hey, if you're in quarantine, what does this look like for you when it comes to meal delivery, when it comes to your classes? Does it mean for 1 week you have to do some online learning and then be back in the classroom? And if that move does, if being in quarantine or being in isolation does result in a move, then myself and our staff have worked with students to try to figure out a best place possible. We've actually used the Prince Conference Center for a few times this year as well. So we've been creative. The students have been great. They've been very responsible. And like all of you, we long for the day that we can start to go back to more normal, right? And go back to what we know of as, activities and events and being able to participate in concerts and movies and sporting events and all that stuff. Students, I should also say this, we are doing some testing on campus, and more students right now are starting to get a vaccine. As I call students and say, hey, there's somebody in your floor or somebody in your suite, they're like, hey, Mr. Wise, don't worry, I'm on my second round. I have one tomorrow. So we're getting more and more students. We have our RAs mostly vaccinated. A lot of our staff and faculty has been vaccinated already. And we're working with students, and we know that this has been a disruptive year, I'll be honest. It's probably not how any of us wanted it to go, but I think like when I talk to students at lunch and say, hey, would you rather be at home on your laptop, at the kitchen table, or be here, even though there's some restrictions? 9 out of 10 students say, you know what, Mr. Wise, I'm really glad we're here, and I'm glad that Calvin is taking the steps they are, and I'm doing my part, but I really enjoyed the community. And funny thing, I think in some respects, some of the floor community and some of the suite community and some of the project neighborhood houses, let's say, their community has maybe gotten stronger this year because they're around each other a lot. With having less opportunities to visit other people, that's kind of galvanized some floors in some communities. And we're trying, we're still doing events and activities as best we can. We're doing some things outside. We're doing a lot of the virtual stuff, right? There's a couple of dorms that are doing a little 12 days of quarantine kind of fun. Of each day is a different event, winning prizes, an opportunity to get some gift cards to local restaurants. Just trying to mix it up and keep it light and fun in a season that is a little stressful, I'll be honest.
Yeah, it has been exciting, Jay, as the weather has gotten nicer and nicer here, to be able to see the students get out of it and be able to be outside and just enjoy things in that open space. But also, again, as I mentioned earlier at the beginning, just that sense of sticking together. I've seen that lots of students, the intentionality of being in a smaller community and being able to appreciate that. I know Tracy, I talked with Taryn in the fall at some point of time, and being able to just be able to say hi and talk with her was really great. But I think that we have kind of reached the end of our time tonight. I want to thank our panelists for being able to share your experience as parents, and then Jay and Melissa being able to share your insights about the student life from higher up. And then, yeah, I thank you all for joining us this evening. We do have some leftover questions. We will be able to, we'll be sure to follow up with you all. And again, this will be recorded. If you do have any follow-up questions, feel free to yeah, I'll put my email in the chat. If you'd like to email me, feel free to do that. Or you can reach out to your admissions counselor. You'll see their names on the screen. Oh, sorry, I put that to all the panelists. I need panelists and attendees.
Yeah, admissions@calvin.edu would be perfect too for any follow-up questions you have, or if we maybe missed your question and didn't see it. So.
You know what? That would be even better. Yeah, if you would like to email admissions@calvin.edu, we'll be able to answer your questions that way. But thank you again, everyone, for joining, and I hope you have a wonderful evening.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.